Hey everybody, welcome back to No Stone Face Reactions. I'm Griffin, that's Theta down there, and we're reading some Vanadis arts today. We got a comment from last time, so let's see what people got to say. We got Emoriat, who says, Alright, so highlights of Chapter 5. I do like how this chapter made the change to a more positive tone. When we last saw Vilda and Kyu, it seemed to be on a down note. This time around, it looks like the townsfolk came around and wanted Vilda's help. And while it took some convincing, she would eventually decide to help the elder. It was nice to see her deed be given appreciation. Kiyu was also able to help out with the giant doll. His deed helped to contribute to the positive turnaround with the townsfolk. We also get more details on the Vanadis Institute and the Gund medical technology. I really love the world building and the expanding of lore in the manga. It's wild that all this is taking place in the past, and yet Vilda is in possession of such an advanced gun a medical technology in the vehicle. The festival was a fun event. It was interesting to learn the history behind it. It seems to also reinforce Vilda's belief in the gun medical technology and Dr. Cardo's vision. We get confirmation about Kiyu. There were suggestions and implications at the beginning of the manga about Kiyu's heart. Now, this chapter confirms them. And I also like the detail about the explanation as to why he has limitations regarding the distance he can travel from the GU. Very interesting revelation about his heart. It seems like Vilda is trying to reverse a tampering that was done on it, and that was the original creator. The first chapter seemed to suggest that notion. Now, this chapter confirms that. And then the final pages, oh boy, that was some scary imagery. The scale and level of destruction was frightening. Just what is happening? Eager to see how the story progresses in the next chapter, the end of the chapter left me wondering what is going on, excited and scared for the answers in future chapters. So, Thane, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. That's the kind of excitement that I like to see for the manga. It's because when we were watching the show, there was a lot more people around to discuss what's going on in the show and everything. But I feel like there's a lot less people who are reading the manga that you
Mhm.
can get this sort of interaction with. So it's good to see that we're all on the same page, at least the few of us manga readers left.
I do have to say that this is definitely my brand. So
My
this story
brand.
is, yeah, I know. This story is like a tragedy, but the story is still set down time to go ahead and give us a lot of positive emotions, to show people being happy, to show them joking and interacting. And for me, I really like that because it shows that like there's not just one thing in the universe that matters, and that's all. And it also, I think, helps reinforce the characters and makes the tragedy even more heartbreaking when it's going to happen. So I appreciate the positive tones because we're gonna get dragged back down as soon as like something terrible happens to Kiyu. That's my feelings, but you know what? I'm along for the ride. I'm happy with whatever I get.
Yeah, we're here for the artists and the writers.
All right. So let's see. So we got that. Theta, you want to give us any kind of quick last time before we begin?
No, actually, you usually handle that.
All right. Well, I've completely forgotten everything. I remember the festival. I remember the festival being a fun time. I remember the gun technology bits. I don't remember this exciting end with everything exploding. I need a refresher on that.
Well, that was the. Remember the boss was holding a pad showing Vilda stuff that he'd seen or gotten rumors about?
Uh, oh, right, right, yeah, okay.
I
So
guess
that was them
pointedly,
learning about this chapter 4. This is what happened.
pointedly, I didn't really want to bring that much up because I also have notes about that
That's
as it
perfectly fine.
happens in this chapter.
That it makes sense. That's where we're dropping in with a bunch of information being shared. Let's go ahead and get into it. But of course, before we begin, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and of course, comment down below to feed that algorithm. And if you want more stuff like this, unfiltered, uncensored, and uncut, you can go ahead and drop by the Patreon and completely forget how this bit goes, but you can give us $5 on Patreon and help out the channel just a little bit extra.
Oh man, you've gone full shill now. You're just asking for money.
Give, consume.
Click the link down below, join the Discord. Just talk to us. I'm not asking you for money like this guy is. Alright. I started off on page 2 because obviously the first page is a splash. So, we start off with our main characters walking through what appears to be a more developed and populated area than our last location. It certainly seems to fill Kyu with wonder, as I assume the sparkle effect that covers everything is done from his perspective. As he rushes about pointing out things to Vilda and asking her what she's going to buy, she looks once again exasperated at Kyu's question, saying there is nothing they need and that it's all just stolen merchandise and illegal drugs.
This does remind me, of course, of the first time they stopped by like a big sort of open market before. And I feel like this might just be like a running theme at this point of just like being fascinated by everything. Just everybody going shopping. It's a good time. And you can just see like in the second panel how much fun and expressiveness we get out of Kyu there with like the twirls and everything. Like you can actually see it in motion. All the soul and stuff is of course checks out, given the setting that we're in. Earth is not in a happy place.
I guess I'll just make a quick comment here, even though it's not revealed yet, that the place we went before was like a walled outpost for trading and like a rest stop. It was like a giant walled rest stop where we first encountered the name of the group that I can no longer remember. The one that we were like Earth-based Bennett group, but yeah, it's said that this is more like this is a place that exists in rundown cities and shit places, right? This is kind of not really the same thing.
I guess one last comment here is, of course, this place is bumpin'. So we're gonna go ahead and add that to the vocabulary for Witch from Mercury. Just imagine Suletta popping up and just going, "This place is bumpin'."
Why not?
Why not?
Alright, next page. As Kyu continues to marvel at everything, Vilda explains that shopping isn't their goal, and that they are chasing down the rumors of the other Gundam. We then flash back to the crew from the last couple of chapters, as they showed Vilda the pad with a recording of the attack on it, stating that the rumor is that a terrorist uprising against a Spacian corporation was quelled by it.
Right, so we can already see the story is being spun a little bit. But they're going to be taking care of that in the next chapter, so I kind of have to just end the comment there. I mean, next page, I mean.
As a comment on your future group?
Yeah.
Your uprising against space corporations, Griff, with a Gundam?
Don't tell anyone that. We're going to space.
Alright. Next page. Vilda then questions if the corporations are taking security into their own hands and using a Gundam to do it, which is quite a hilarious thought considering that 16 years later the Bennett group are running their own security forces all over Earth, replacing Dominicus whenever they wanted. The crew wonders why they would go to the trouble of using a banned machine, if that were true. But we then go into Vilda's mind palace as she checks the pad for information, thinking to herself that if someone on the Mobile Suit Development Council had the power to twist reports to them, they might not even know. That was a bit of a surprise to me, as I would assume that Cathedra would take point on identifying any Gundam activity, having been formed 5 years prior to now. I guess our new batch of Lifriths are being made legally, but with the fact that they are Gundams being hidden, which is counter to what I expected, as I thought they would just be remains from Ox Earth that hadn't been reported or captured, like the container full of them that Prospera destroys on Earth. I feel like the implication here is that they are still making them 5 years after Ox Earth HQ was destroyed and Falk Wagner was blown up. We know there are Ox Earth survivors, and that they will go on to infiltrate the Space Assembly League, so I guess it's possible that the Mobile Suit Development Council could be a branch of the Space Assembly League, versus Cathedra being a self-policing agency of an as of yet unformed Benneret group. Would at least follow through on the known sequence of events. Anyways, Vilda scans the documents and stops on a much younger face than the rest. Though blurred out from the top, the only distinguishing feature left is that he wears glasses. I told you, Griff, it's you. You're in the future. You're fighting corporations.
It's just always me. As far as Cathedra goes, like the council here is clearly the one getting the reports and publishing reports and pushing them. So they're the first contact for all of this information. Cathedra seems more like an investigative and responsive organization. Like it's supposed to come in once other people are saying there's a thing here, and then you have to deal with it. They aren't first responders.
They investigate Gundams and then they deal with them.
Yeah.
Right. So
they'd get involved eventually, just not at first.
I think we just have different concepts of how Cathedra is supposed to react. Also, the fact that Dominicus is supposed to be what I think you're referring to as well.
I guess it doesn't help that Cathedra only reacts like once or twice in the entire series, so, yeah.
I don't know, because they're kind of like on the spot people in the show. They never like show up to investigate anything. And the only people that do show up to investigate anything are from the Space Assembly League, which is why I said the Mobile Suit Development Council might just be tied into the Space Assembly League. But the Space Assembly League also kind of always seemed like the United Nations of space. But then again, it turns out that they're also just like a competing corporation group. So it's hard to tell exactly what's going on.
And ironically, it wouldn't be the first evil UN we've seen.
And also, we have no evidence that the Benneret group is formed yet.
Right.
Considering that they were a loose organization in the prequel, but it's Benneret himself which forms them into a group. Otherwise, maybe he just renamed the group to his own name at some point.
Well, we're still in the past. There's plenty of time for them to do it.
Alright, next page. The boss asks if they are the true owners of the suit, and Vilda replies that they are not, which is why they need intel. He then suggests that they head to the market, as it's where he learned of the rumors. In our final panel of the page, we see a shot of the truck heading into the ruins of a city. And the thing that struck out to me was the fact that we have the skyscrapers rising off in the distance, and there are these pillar-like objects in the distance behind them, rising up into the sky as well. Rising well above the tallest of the remaining buildings. My immediate thought being, could this be the space elevator that's been in every landscape shop in the distance? Could this be the ruins of the city in Vilda's flashbacks, where the space elevator wasn't so far away? My immediate thought to this, though, is no. However, as that city seemed so much more advanced than the ruins of this one already appears to be, and it just feels way too soon for them to be hitting up a major plot point like that just to get some rumors.
About to be surprised the next couple pages, but
yes, I wrote these page for page, so my guess, poignantly true, my second guessing of myself, the wrong way to go.
Exactly. You gotta trust your instinct, Theta.
No other thoughts? It sounded like you had some thoughts you're about to say.
Sorry, probably not on this one in particular, but you can see the worry on Vilda's face. She knows what's going on. And of course, we are getting more and more knowledge of what she actually knows more than everyone else.
Alright.
We're getting there.
Next page. Despite the fact that she's walking into a shady black market, Vilda appears to have forgone her bandito disguise in favor of her normal attire. Evidently, this black market moves from ghost town to ghost town to do its dealings, which seems like another indication of how many ruined towns and cities there are to be available for all this. Vilda also seems to have come prepared, with a briefcase containing who knows what at her side.
I do have to cringe ever so slightly at the black market is a place, because like black market activity is not just shop you set up, right?
Well,
but here in this world, in this case, this stuff still makes perfect sense. A bunch of people who have stuff that should be illegal, but they're in a place that nobody cares, so they're just actually just setting up a normal shop.
I mean, a
in
black market can be a place. Like, if you consider, like, all of the, like, the gun vendors that set up, like, just in the hills of America, where they're technically a legal operation, but they don't do any background checks and just fucking sell whatever weapons they have to anybody that's there. Technically, you could consider that sort of thing to be a black market, in which case it's just a group of people that wander around together
Mhm.
to specific places.
I guess more particularly in our world, in our time, if you were to do that and do a bunch of illegal activity, usually you get broken up pretty quickly. But we're in terrifying post-apocalypse Earth, where no one's gonna stop them.
My only problem there, Griff, is that I gave you a real life example where that they don't get broken up. So these people literally just do what they do.
All right, so Theta, I'm gonna go to the hills. I'm gonna see you later.
I mean, there's lots of news reports where they go there and they ask the people questions, and the reporters are asked to leave like almost immediately, where they find out
I,
that they're not there to buy guns.
I think, of course, I do have to say I do like how cool Vilda ends up looking like in her ordinary attire, but with just like a serious face and pose on. She can manage a lot of this.
All right, next page. Starting this page, we get a close-up on Vilda's face as she is determined to find information on him as well. Assumedly the man she froze on when looking at the pad related to the Mobile Suit Development Council.
Yeah.
We then get reminded that Kyu hasn't just vanished from the manga, as he appears beside Vilda again, only to spot something on the ground and rush over to it. It looks like I was right after all, as they spot an orbital elevator pass just lying on the ground.
Let's go and see what we got on that pass over there. It's got a number protocol. It has like W/P, which is probably some sort of level of the pass.
Yeah, no,
And then I'm guessing like the information under there would probably be like a name or person.
I zoomed in on it too, and there was just no information to get.
Yeah, there's like the tiniest bit. It's otherwise just a pretty picture of the elevator, right?
Yeah, it's a pass, and it seems to have like identification for the pass. Otherwise, nothing else.
But classic dichotomy. Vilda is focused. Kyu is absolutely distracted.
Yep. Alright, next page. This entire page amounts to Kyu hatching a plan, as we go from his understanding of what he's found to realizing what value it has, and that someone must have dropped it, then realizing this could be their ticket to going to space. Jackpot, baby! Baby!
This
His
this
face at the end makes me think of Shinchan level hijinks are about to ensue.
Oh, absolutely. Like, this is like a perfect four-panel slice of life kind of comic right here, right? This could be individual, and you understand exactly what's going on. We have like the surprise, the worry, the thought processing, and of course, the Shinshan, I just got a whole load of money expression. All of it comes together perfectly. This is incredibly human. I love it.
Kyu. Incredibly human.
Yeah. Not an alien.
Alright, next page. At just that instant, Vilda is warning him not to wander off, which is the instant she realizes he's not there. Surprisingly, he goes into a surprisingly she goes into a panic, enough to knock into the guy next to her as she looks around for Kyu. I'm reminded of a few chapters back where Kyu wandered off and Vilda was concerned, but not panicked like she is now, as Kyu has been trained to not just be abducted or some such thing. We also know Kyu has a measure on the distance that they can travel from the GU, so the threat there should be minimal as well. Just a surprising amount of concern given what we saw before.
Well, they are in a place that sells illegal small arms, so there's bound to be the type of people who would love to get their hands on illegal small arms. This is probably not a safe place compared to just an ordinary city. So, this is parental panic mode. This is very much instant parental panic. And it is kind of adorable that Vilda, like, goes into that sort of panic. That she cares that much.
Alright, next page. Immediately rushing down the street, Vilda begins cursing to herself that this always happens. that she brought him along after he insisted on not staying behind, resolving to put him on a leash from now on, which is when someone tugs on her coat, causing her to turn in excitement, thinking that it might be Kyu.
I think we've literally joked about the leash before, haven't we?
I don't remember.
Probably have, but you know what? They're catching up. They got the right idea.
I mean, we hit these things month for month. Sometimes there's a gap between, so it's hard to remember what we've made wisecracks about.
But I do like the long shot of running through the streets, seeing like how populous it is. It is kind of amusing though. Like these are rundown cities where nobody has anything. Nobody has a car anymore by the looks of it. But
Well,
everyone is so very much clearing the streets and hanging out on the sidewalk.
on the way in, the shot where we saw the skyscrapers and whatnot, we saw wreckages of cars on the sides of the street.
Yeah, the wreckages of them, but no one has one anymore out here who could afford it. Where are you going to get the gas, right?
Well, I think that the gas is probably the major measure, if not for the fact that they all look destroyed as well. That if we have no infrastructure, like that's the point of those walled areas, is that you get your batteries, you get all your shit.
Yeah.
We have piping and plumbing working along the road.
Mm-hmm.
We are the infrastructure.
Nothing like that, but people still don't go into the street. It's cars. They've ruined everybody.
Alright, next page. Instead of Kyu, it appears to be Yoshika dancing around Vilda's side in a rather elaborate dress. I assume it's Yoshika anyways, given that we know that they were tracing a path to follow them, and that they are the only Kyu-looking kid we know so far. Vilda clearly doesn't know her, though, as she just looks confused at first glance.
Right. Vilda definitely doesn't have any recognition of the character. And of course, the introduction of her popping up out of nowhere in the most attention grabbing dress possible is kind of hilarious. She came out here with a purpose.
All
but
right.
Good reintroduction.
Next page. Looking down at her, I can only read an uncomfortable confusion in Vilda's face. Still, as Yoshika smiles up at her and asks her to tell me, please.
Vilda's expression is 5 seconds away from who is the sassy lost child.
You know, for somebody who didn't watch One Punch Man, you do reference that a lot.
I've watched One Punch Man.
I constantly ask if you watched it, and you always tell me no.
I feel like that's not true.
Well, the only one who feels that way is you. Next
I'm
page.
sorry you're confused about how much One Punch Man I've watched.
None of it, according to you.
No, I just said I watched it. Change your knowledge.
No. Vilda, already confused, asks if she's asking for directions and starts to indicate that she wouldn't know. Yoshika both identifies herself as the person I thought she was and states that she doesn't need directions since she doesn't get lost, and that she wanted to know about something else. Vilda, however, is taken in by how elegant her clothes are. I have to wonder if there's an element of her doll collecting at play there. She also notes that she looks nothing like the kids around here and wonders what she'd be doing around here alone.
Right. The most attention grabbing getup possible. But like the third panel is absolutely perfect. Just showing off just how great Yoshika looks.
Alright, next page. We then get a full-page panel of Yoshika telling Vilda that she wants her to tell her about grown-up things. Just a very creepy and ominous panel. Kids wanting to talk about grown-up stuff. Gives me Interview with the Vampire vibes. That kid vampire that could never grow up and wanting to be treated like an adult. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it follows my early feelings about Kyu and his whole wanting to get taller thing, with the vibe that he'd never grow up, and that he had all of it taken away from him. It's a lot to read into, but we know nothing. But we know something sinister is going on with these kids. Witches and kids have a bad history, or I guess a bad future, anyways.
Yeah, no, like there's definitely like little bits of her that are unsettling enough that Vilda's reading into it and that she's definitely very cautious of, I think. And this is just kind of like half cementing that because this is still like a beautiful page right here, right? This is a great shot. And of course, like the plant motif is coming back to and everything, which is starting to be associated with these kids more and more. I guess we can read into that more
Well,
later.
when I say creepy, I mean there's that horror element of children. Like, if a child grabs a knife and starts running around, they're innocent as can be, right? But
Hmm.
also, if you've never explained the concept of death or dying to a kid, and they have no idea what the knife can do to somebody,
Hmm.
it's the scary element of a child, right?
We're going back to blow out the candles here.
All right. Next page. We then pan away to a wide road being used as a landing or takeoff strip for a rather large plane. I guess the pilot must be exceptional given the rubble and debris piled up on every side of the wingspan of the plane. Not to mention that the buildings there very clearly are not too far from getting clipped by the wings. We then transition to a guy inside the plane, someone who is asking him about how she up and left, and him replying that she does what she wants. I have to wonder, this new figure is smoking, and that isn't something we've ever seen from anyone else in the show or manga do before.
Hmm.
Do you suppose that something is being indicated by that fact to us here? Some sort of visual representation of something as the universe's first and only smoker so far?
To that I have to say, I've read the rest of this, and the answer is going to be yes. There will be, in fact, a reason why he's the only smoker we see, especially with the events that happen soon. But
You've
fun
read
fact,
ahead, Griff.
I read the content before, just moments before we got to this. Um, but fun fact, did you know that most of the US interstate highway system is like set up to be straight enough for a landing for like 1 mile in every five?
Yes.
So yeah, no, this is hey, look, even after society collapses, you can still land your plane.
I too have at least watched the History Channel once. Alright, next page. The mysterious other voice then asks if she will be alright, reminding him not to let her go beyond her permissible limits. That makes me assume she has the same limiter that Q has, and that the plane is carrying their Gundam inside of it. Our smoking guy says there is nothing to worry about, that he's tracking her location, and we even get to see the GPS readout with her name and position indicated on it. The mysterious voice then names the man as Bas Issa. Very prequel
Mr.
vibes.
Issa.
What's that?
Mr. Issa, that's what we're gonna go with.
Oh, does Bass mean Mister?
No.
Okay.
Just easier and hard. It's difficult to alliterate.
Bass Issa. I'll just say it's like prequel vibes, naming convention. Says that he knows his student best. We also see that he's sitting in the cockpit of the plane. I would suggest that makes him an expert pilot, but we also know that Harus can drive just about anything.
I have to suppose there's at least one other pilot involved here. They do have a third seat as well, but there's no reason that has to be manned by anyone.
Again, it could be a Vilda Kyu analog that's just him and her
Mhm.
out here, and it's a Haru driving the plane.
All right, so thing that didn't come to my mind immediately on reading, but like looking back and like doing the comparisons between Bus, Issa, and Vilda here,
Bass.
did they used to date each other?
He's not wearing glasses.
Ah, true. Well, maybe he took them off. You know, I can take off my glasses too, and oh
We
gosh,
can
I'm
see the
blind.
entire cockpit, though.
That is true. That is true. So, still got maybe one more person to show off here, but we'll find out later.
Alright, next page. Returning back to Vilda, apparently, instead of just running off to chase after Kiyu, she could have just called him, as now Kiyu is apologizing over the phone. Vilda says it's fine and tells him to meet her at the location she sent him on the beacon. As she's hanging up, Yoshika is just staring at her phone, making Vilda ask her what she's doing.
You got
Yoshika
games on your phone?
Yoshika comments that Vilda seems flustered, despite the fact that grown-ups are supposed to have it together. Vilda appears to not want to stand around having a conversation with some random kid, and rushes off in the meetup direction with Yoshika chasing behind her, commenting about a leash in a callback to Vilda's own thoughts. Visibly annoyed, Vilda just states that grown-ups can be complicated.
This is the first time I've seen a story decide to just solve a they got lost scenario with the actual cell phone call. This is what I've been waiting like 20 years for. They did it. They just put it in there.
I guess our thing is that we've never seen Q with a phone,
Mhm.
right? Like, I guess maybe last, no, I guess last time Q was in the truck at the time, so the assumption was
Yeah.
somebody called the truck. I don't know.
But like obviously like, pre-cell phone, like all these sitcoms and everything out there had like these plots of like, oh no, we can't like reach someone or like they're lost so we don't know what they're doing, and that's like how they engineered a lot of like their plots and stuff, right? And then the cell phone comes along, it's like, well, those aren't plots anymore because the answer is you call them on your phone or you're crazy.
Well, I mean, the guy has a tracker on Yoshika. There's no reason that Vilda couldn't have a tracker on Q.
Exactly. Or at least a cell phone, as we see. But I do like Yoshika immediately going, "Oh yeah, no, we should put him on leash," and just mirroring Vilda's thoughts from earlier.
All right.
It is hilarious. Maybe put a pin on it.
Next page. Apparently, it takes this long for Vilda to start getting suspicious, noting that Yoshika is a peculiar girl and about the same age as Kyu. Asking why she's following her, Yoshika indicates that she's looking for a gift and that there are too many shops. So when she saw Vilda, that was that.
It's some reasoning. But I do, of course, like the long shot here, where it looks like they're basically like in a construction zone now, just like for their shopping. It's
Well,
fun seeing like all the different like
certain,
places that are dilapidated here.
certainly an industrial zone, if anything,
Mhm.
given the amount of pipe work that they want to show off.
Yeah, maybe it could be some sort of post refinery or something. It's obviously hard to pin down because that's not what we're here for.
Like not natural gas. Is it natural
Mhm.
gas like houses that still require it for like stovetops and heating and whatnot?
Yeah, usually you bury the pipes, but then again, maybe this is just their current
Well, I mean, this
solution.
could be the collective area. I don't know what they're called, but you see
Mhm.
them. Oh God, I think old movies like Detroit, whatnot. This is the collective area that then gets distributed throughout the city.
But I do like that Vilda is very definitely pinning down that Yoshika is just a little bit obsessed with her.
All right, next page. We then get an Agent of Change moment as Yoshika stares down at her hands, saying that man seems to hate flowers. Vilda asks if she's looking for a gift for her family, but Yoshika demurs at this, saying it's just someone important. Someone that takes care of her. She asks Vilda what would make them happy when you want to say thank you.
We have a very important piece of content here, though, Theta. Do you see it? It's Chibi Yoshika. We've done
Well,
it.
I guess I'm going to give a little bit of inside baseball here. Griffin is more than likely looking at the manga right now. I am staring at a white notepad filled with my thoughts. So if you try to hint at something I should be looking at, I'm going to be playing it from memory.
I know, that's why I played it. But no, we got our I think this is our first Chibi Yoshika right here. We now have chibis for most of the characters. We're golden. We're good again.
Alright. Alright, next page. Vilda says that she doesn't know the person, so it would be really hard to say, and despite being a genius doctor slash scientist, in her mind palace, we see her still trying to make a connection between how this girl is like Q. I know that we, the reader, have already seen this, but even from an outside perspective, Q and Yushika have the same eyebrows, lashes, eyes, build, and possibly even hair. It's like not recognizing your twin sister to me. In the bottom half of the page, we see that we see what Kiyu has been up to this whole time, getting the space elevator pass gift wrapped for Vilda, as Vilda's voice covers the scene, stating that when buying gifts, you should consider the other person and their situation.
Mm. So on the first half, I don't entirely blame Vilda because she obviously is not expecting the answer to everything to drop directly into her lap. She is doing an investigation about something else and is focused on that. So the fact that like this girl is so weird but doesn't immediately trigger the answer to her is just the fact of why would that be here? Why would she be here? It doesn't make sense for her.
You remember at the very beginning when you said that Vilda had a hand in possibly creating all these kids?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she doesn't recognize this one.
Yeah. But at least for the second half, it is of course adorable to see Kiyu in action, and of course going through the same thought process as Vilda. They're close, they think the same, and Kiyu is trying to be thoughtful.
Alright, next page. Yoshika thinks for a moment and says that the person she wants to buy a gift for is always stressed out from work, and that maybe medicine would do the trick. Vilda, calling back to the earlier page where she indicated that this place sold a lot of hard drugs, recommends that this isn't the place to be buying medicine, and in fact, she would be better served going somewhere more reliable to buy a gift. Yoshika seems to agree, but suggests that there are so many pretty things here.
I mean, what are the odds that you could get just somewhere totally horrible drug? She gives it to her handler, and then her handler just dies in the cockpit, and she's just stuck here forever.
Well, if it is just the two of them, and he's irresponsible enough to take just hard drugs and ODs, yeah. We have no idea if they have like a medical Haru on SAF or, if the autopilot will take him back somewhere safe in time.
Mm-hmm. But it is Vilda being responsible, as always, for the children.
Alright, next page. Prompted by Vilda repeating Yoshika's last statement, she goes on to basically describe everything Vilda had seen as negative before, but almost in the same way as Q had seen them. The same sparkles filled the page, and she describes them as the wonder Q had in seeing them as well. The only difference between the two is the context that Vilda added.
Right. Where Vilda is recognized like, wait a second, all these things are absolutely terrible, but Yoshika doesn't care. Yoshika, sorry. Yeah, Yoshika is more concerned with how they look, how they're entertaining to her, and of course her field of flowers motif.
Alright, next page. Vilda clearly looks disappointed in this, but has no time to do anything about it as Yoshika dances her way over to a stall where she spots a luxury lighter, asking if it is expensive. Vilda notes that it is a knockoff of a luxury brand, so she might get it cheap. Yoshika then begs Vilda to buy it for her. Vilda hesitates as Yoshika asks her if she doesn't have any. Yoshika asks if she doesn't have any money, and for some reason, Vilda caves and buys the lighter for her. I just wanted to take a moment to point out either my confusion or a translation error, as when Vilda hesitates, Yoshika's next text bubble says, "Yoshika, you don't have money?" Which feels like it's meant to be something Vilda is saying, but the speech bubble is in Yoshika's manner, and the line extends from Yoshika's height. Just threw me off in the reading.
Yeah, I got a little bit thrown by that placement too, but cramped panel, what you gonna do, right? It is still hilarious going straight into the sitcom where the kid is bullying the adult here. It is... Oh, that final expression on Vilda's face there, just the completely straight lips. I am having to do this. Why am I doing this for this kid? But it makes them happy expression is great. I really do just love how this series is just continuously hilarious.
Yeah, everyone's children, even the adults. Alright, next page. Wandering down the now suddenly empty street, Yoshika goes on to praise Vilda for being all right for a grown-up and being so mature. Vilda asks if Yoshika thinks that they will. Sorry. I'm losing it the further on we go. Vilda asks if Yoshika thinks they will like the gift, and she agrees appreciatively. Vilda then tries to segue into going their separate ways when Yoshika shifts in tone to let Vilda know how grateful she really is, evidently not just for the lighter, but hinting at what she gave Yoshika and the others before. Clearly, this is where the chapter is going to take its turn.
Oh yeah. This is like moments before the stinger here, but we're going through the process where she's actually doing the reveal now, expressing her gratitude. We're getting there. But something's on my mind suddenly. I feel like that top panel, I recognize that. Like that's from something. That is in fact a 3D model. That is a level in a video game. I know it. I've seen it before. Maybe it could possibly be Deus Ex, the newer one. I forget what the subtitle for it was called.
I don't know, it'd be the one
But
after
it looks
Human
like
Revolution.
Detroit.
So, again, you're the one looking at the page right now, Griff. So you've got the only one who can let the audience or me know what's going on right
Uh,
now.
right, right. I'm just saying, like it looks really so familiar. They got to have grabbed that from something.
All right, next page. And on this page, Yoshika goes full Q with the floral background as she simply says, "Our heart," while the bottom panel shows Vilda in shock under heavy shadow. Clearly she knows what this means and must finally be making the connection between the mysterious girl and Q via her past.
It is definitely amazing to see the contrast between like how grateful Yoshika here is, how nice she's being. She's going like with this full heartfelt thank you. And Vilda is horrified here. The shaded expression and everything is not just shock here. She is scared from what she has just learned. Probably because she knows that there's a whole lot else connected to her that could be right behind her.
Yeah, well, we all know the witches are evil. Look, we all know
But
that
but this is
Carter Naval
definitely
is the ringleader.
this is a great stinker panel and like great juxtaposition. I
Well, I
love it.
guess, since I just brought up Cardo, and I might not remember for the rest of this video, rest in peace, the voice actor who did Cardo Nabo passed away in earlier,
Oh.
earlier last month, or
Mm.
sometime last month. So, I guess, God rest your evil soul. Next page. Vilda's speech bubble then goes from smoothed edge to jagged as she questions what Yoshika had just said. The girl reiterating that she wanted to thank the woman that made a heart for us. This clearly has shaken Vilda as she repeats the word in her thoughts. I also like the change up from the shade she was in before, where it seemed like her posture was about to fall over in the last page, to here where she appears to have straightened up and is looking down on Yoshika in disbelief.
Right. The weight of it all is still settling in, and Yoshika just like continuing to go ahead and hammer that nail.
Well, I mean, the difference between,
Expressions are
being
great.
like, oh my god, what's going on, to the arrogant,
It
or
is
I
like
should say the more.
a whole bunch of expressions at once. I know. I
Well,
tried to pantomime them.
yeah, I didn't hear what you said before, and then you did this motion. I'm like, what's going on over there? No, I meant more so that she's done
I was
like
trying to
the.
go through and like figure out the positioning of it physically. It's difficult while sitting down.
Well, I just feel like she's doing more of a looking down at her sort of thing. Like comically in like some anime where people are too tall to be looked down upon. So you
Mhm.
lean back super far so you still can look down at them over the top of your nose.
Not exactly the vibe she's going for, but I understand what you're saying.
Alright, next page. As if to assuage any doubt, we then get a full page shadow of Yoshika and her Gundam with the glimmer over her chest, as she says directly that it was thanks to Vilda that Yoshika and the others can pilot a Gundam.
Yup, we're back to the shading. This is the horror that Vilda sees right now.
Well, again,
This is not just artistic liberty. This is what is happening in her mind right now. This little girl has a Gundam that she's looking for, and it could very well kill her.
I don't think she's looking for a Gundam.
She was looking for information about it.
No,
That's where we
this is
started.
the girl from the previous chapter who has a Gundam. I even said earlier that I believe that their Gundam is in the plane. She's not looking
and she
for her
came to the
Gundam.
marketplace to look for the rumors of the Gundam that she saw on the tablet.
Wait!
That
Stop, Griff, stop. We're talking about two different things, and I just realized we're talking about two different things. I'm talking about Yoshika.
Yeah, they're one the same.
No, Vilda is the one that came looking for rumors. Yoshika didn't come looking for rumors.
I never said that.
You just said they came looking for rumors.
Yes, I said Vilda came looking for rumors.
No, you didn't say
of this
Vilda.
Gundam that is trying to kill her.
You didn't say Vilda. We were talking about Yoshika, and then you said she came looking for rumors. You might forgot Yoshika is a woman.
Who else was it gonna be? Anyway.
You can't change the subject of the sentence without indicating a subject change, Griff. That's just fucking confusing.
So what else you got?
And that is when Kiyu re-enters the picture, as Yoshika repeats that it was thanks to Vilda that they can venture out into a beautiful world. We see Kiyu standing at a distance, holding his gift in his right hand, and staring at them, as Yoshika addresses him by her pet name for him.
Ah, yes, there we go. This is now where all of that darkness that Vilda had is now going to be put directly onto Kiyu. This is a... What?
I've said I don't know. I don't know where it goes from here because
Kiyu is the object of obsession here for Yoshika. Kiyu is moments away from being kidnapped, essentially.
Again, we don't know. We don't know what Yoshika does here because obviously the thing to do would be to call in to your other guy who's sitting at the plane. Like, hey, I found him, or something. But there's no telling, because Yoshika does not seem stable.
There's a lot of things that could happen here, and it's going to be funny to see what happens next. So, how do we wrap this up? I liked this little chapter. This chapter had everything that I was looking for. Started by saying it's like, yeah, I love all the positive and the way it accentuates the negative. And then we literally get that. Literally every single panel, or rather every single page, is like one panel, incredible brightness, flowers. Next panel, immediate darkness and realization. It's great. I love it. The vibes are mine. I love them. What do you got to say in general?
I mean, we don't know what's going on in the past. It seems like Vilda got brought in by Carter Nabo to develop the medical technology that she was had spent a majority of her time trying to solve her brother's disease for. And it seems like clearly her brother died, but now I wouldn't be surprised if the person with the glasses and the picture for the Mobile Suit Development Council in fact turns out to be her brother still alive.
But, that'd be a shock.
Well, I mean, she's developing artificial organs and shit, or hearts at the very least. Who's to say that they didn't keep him on artificial life support for a long time, and that's why he got moved out of the low-intensity wing of the hospital and got moved into a tube,
It would be a great way to just amplify the drama, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that
the brother I saved is trying to kill me.
Or not kill you, but he's now running he's running the thing that's creating all these children that are operating Gundams, and that she's flipped her moral values away from the person who made them to something else.
So a little bit more, the brother I saved is now running the Torment Nexus, which I created.
Well, no, more in line with the bonus novel chapters. That the brother is now running the corporation that the assumedly dying sister is now running away from. That sort of thing.
Right. I think overall, like the plot that we're getting here, we've kind of been ambling for a while in this series because we're only a couple of chapters in. Like this would be like episode 3 or something by now, right? We were like animating it. This is where it
I don't
feels like
know.
we're finally getting a more direct relationship between our heroes and their antagonists. We're going to settle what their relationship is, and then we can go ahead and move forward from here using that as our conflict.
I'd say episode 5 probably. That would be close to halfway through a half season, or depending on
Mhm.
what it would be. Well, because you have your first
It
episode.
depends on what you want to focus
You have
on,
your
I guess.
first episode, which just basically introduces the characters within the prologue thing, and
Mhm.
then you have your second episode where they go to the trading area and get into a fight. You have your third episode where we meet those people and they solve their medical problems. That might even be a two-parter. And then you have your one-off episode where it's here's the threat. We're showing you what the threat is, and now we have this episode. So we might actually
Yeah.
be fairly deep into the story by now, series by now.
I don't know. You might have to like buff it out a whole lot to like add to the runtime. But again, we're not directing anime here. We're just supposing.
Well, yeah, because otherwise these would be like we're doing with Ranking of Kings, where they're like cut up bits of episode.
Mhm.
Because I mean, maybe you could attach the prologue to the first one, but that seems really rushed. This would all feel really rushed if you try to animate it out, because you'd have to add stuff or you'd have to combine them together in ways that
Right.
don't seem like the first part of your episode is Yoshika killing all of those people, and then the second half is Yoshika wandering around a market where she runs into Vilda, and it's all one
Yeah.
episode somehow.
So, like, I don't read comics very often, but this is definitely comic pacing, is what it is. Like, they're very short, but we get directly through an event, and then we get a stinger. So it's very different from like the way I consume other things, and I just kind of like gotta get into that mindset when I'm reading it. I think. But that's just like a fun side observation to everything. So I think, do we got anything else to cover here? It is, of course, like I said, short, 27 pages, real good artwork, fun time. Any last observations?
I mean, I guess there's the concept of the cigarette smoking man as the person who's typically in control of a situation, as given to us by the X Files.
The X-Files, I think Lost ended up stealing that one too, didn't it?
Well, no, that was the smoke monster. It's a different thing.
Maybe. But there's also some weird G-men in it, aren't there? I don't know. I have never watched the
I mean,
series.
not really. I mean, like two, 3 seasons in, and you have the people on the boat that are outside of the island, but they're not really G-men. They're just tied into a conspiracy, which is launched by the people on the island as they get out off the island.
Mhm.
It's a little time dimension to it. But I mean, none of them
Lost
are
is
really
so
cigarette
weird.
smoking men.
But yeah. Oh, right. The gift. We actually directly correlate the gift now to the smoking. That was why it was important. That's the last thing that we had a pin in that I forgot to pull out.
What was the pin?
The pin was, we were just like, is it significant that we have the one smoker in the entire Gundam universe right here? And it's like, yes, because we're getting a gift for him.
Well, no, that doesn't correlate to what I was trying to get to. I mean, that gives a method for why Yoshika would buy that thing that
A lighter.
ties them together if you weren't even paying any attention at all. I think smoking has more like, does this dude have an oral fixation? Is this dude
Hmm.
smoking to calm his nerves sort of a thing? The fact is that he's the only guy we've seen smoking in 2 seasons of a show, right? It's never, no one
Hmm.
smokes in the novelization. He's the only smoker we have ever seen, even in 6 chapters of Mad Max Planet, right?
I guess it's likelier when you're on Earth, less likely when you're in space in a very constrained environment.
And the fact that they're selling luxury lighters means there are other smokers out there. But
Mhm.
once again, he's the only one that we've seen. So does it say anything about him that he's the only person? Anybody on the art team, anybody in the writing has decided this guy needs to smoke.
Yeah, that's his thing, how you identify him. So I guess next chapter we'll be going over the health of the tobacco industry in post-warfare Earth. But for right now, this has been Stoneface Reactions, everybody. I'm Griffin. That's Theta down there, and we'll catch you next time. See you around. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below, and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?